Zimbabwe. West Indies in at bat are right now 188 for 3 off of 15.4 overs. And now getting over into studio number 2, a very pleasant morning to the host herself, or the hostess, none other than Vita. She's getting ready. Good morning to you, Vita. She's getting ready for us to get into the program Blue Zone right here on ZJB Radio. And everything is all in place. And a very good morning to you, Vita. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So happy to be here again for the Blue Zone. And happy to have some amazing guests with me today. So for those of you who are familiar with the Blue Zone or might not be, this is a program that I run now bi-weekly. And it's a storytelling and conversation around the blue economy. It's about how do we live and work at sea. And we meet here to have these types of conversations. Now, when we talk about the blue economy, I like to hype a young girl who was at Fish and Fins the other day, and she described it as using the ocean without abusing it. And I think that's a nice description of the blue economy that we could all sort of go by. And so today, I'm reflecting a lot on how we make money from our ocean, how do we diversify our economies. And one of the things that's really on my mind and on many of our minds across the Caribbean right now, I think, is around how do we protect that wealth that the ocean carries? How do we keep ourselves safe? And for that reason, I want to introduce you to the guests because I think these are very important faces and people that most of us here on Montserrat already know. We have Mr. Astrid Wade and Miss Shirley and Queely, and I'm so happy and honored to have you with us. So good morning to you.
Good morning, Vita, and thank you for inviting me on the program Blue Zone.
Morning, Vita.
Yeah, so for most people here on Montserrat, they already know who you are. For those who may not know, who may be new to the island, friends of the island, and or listening from abroad, if you can just say who you are at the DMCA. And the DMCA, for those of you who don't know, is a Disaster Management Coordination Agency.
Okay, so basically the Disaster Management Coordination Agency, DMCA, our role is to protect people, property, and the environment from the effects of disasters or even hazard impacts. It focuses on being prepared before a hazard impact, before disaster happens, responding during the disaster, and recovery afterwards. Now, my role as the Information and Education Officer in the disaster management plays a vital role in communicating accurate, timely, and clear information to the public before, during, and after a hazard impact or disasters, which include creating awareness programs, prepare safety guidelines, and educate communities about disaster risks and preparedness measures. During emergencies, I coordinate with authorities and etc. in terms of getting the information out.
And you? Thank you so much, Shirley. You have quite a big portfolio right there, but you too?
Yeah, well, for me, my post is the Senior Disaster Management Coordinator at the agency. I'm responsible for planning, operations, incident command, and for some reason, the exclusion zone. Our job can become complex at some time where and challenging, but we still put our best foot forward when the time arises in the efforts to make the nation safe and the communities and the whole nation safe. So that's basically my whole thing.
And it's amazing because for those who are, how many people are in your office?
Seven.
It's a small team.
Yes.
Small, but Italoa.
Well, yes.
Yes. We have a lot of work to do.
It is. And, we're in this world of sort of multi-hazard situations. And when I first asked you to be on this program, I wanted to speak to you about climate risk. right? So climate change, you're doing a lot of work in this space, which sometimes people may not see and hear. And I like to stay plugged into what you're doing because I know how important it is and how vital it is for us, especially as we try to think about new ways of making an income as well and preparing ourselves. So what is happening in our changing climate? So that's like when I first reached out, I was like, I want to talk about climate change and how you guys are doing your thing. And then something deeper came up for me as I've been watching and following regional activity. And the main thing that's coming up for me is a question. How can we make money moves to do with our ocean if the people that are using the ocean don't always feel safe? And that safety risk is becoming more and more pronounced in our region because of activities like U.S. military strikes that have been happening in Venezuelan waters, Trinidadian waters. We also had recently, maybe it was in the last week or so, I thought that once they went into Venezuela and got the narcotic operation and the president, that this would have stopped. And now I saw, holy goodness gracious me, are you serious? Did they just strike between St. Vincent and St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Lucia? So who next? Right? And I was doing some research, a research project a couple years ago, and I was doing some deep sea camera drops. So we had deep sea cameras, we were looking for sharks and other things, and John Lee was going to be our navigator and a knowledge expert to do with the ocean in terms of where we drop what and what we see. And again, he goes missing at sea on a calm day. Yeah. And when we heard that, I mean, for me, I have my own PTSD. You know, if you know my own personal story, I have my own PTSD. So my whole heart and mind went to his family and his friends. And to this day, I still think about them. And you, because you all are close, especially you, Astrid. Yeah. And so I'm saying all this to bring us home to the fact that when John Lee went missing at sea, and when we're talking about ocean safety, I don't know about other people, but I felt good to know that Astrid Way was on that boat looking, and I didn't want him to give up. Yeah. And I know that once we had Montserrat people on that boat, we're not giving up on John Lee, and we're going to search until we can't search no more. So I apologize if any of this is triggering to folks, because I know it can be, but it's a serious conversation because we're in serious times. And anything that we, you know, once upon a time I used to think, oh, you know, it's impossible to have some, you know, that's not going to happen. But right now we're in times that environmentally, what you don't expect going to happen is going to happen. Things like this, who would have thought that we would have had military strikes in our waters? I mean, prepare for the unexpected and believe it will happen. Yep. And I wanted to really sort of talk to you about guiding us through what this whole scenario is. Before I even get into climate change, I want to think through if a boat goes missing offshore Montserrat, you know, what's the first thing that your team does to help? How do you get involved? What's the chain of communication that happens?
Okay, so once it becomes of national interest, that's where we get involved. Using the John Lee situation, we met with the Commissioner of Police first thing in the morning and advised him as to, you know, some stuff that he may not have been familiar with. So right away, we got in contact with Martinique Coast Guard, which there's an agreement between Montserrat and them. So they got out searching. They also have an aircraft. So the day that we were searching, they were actually guiding us, giving us the coordinates as to where the currents were going. So Heliconia Star was actually being guided by an aircraft on that day. Wow. We searched from about 8 in the morning to maybe 6:30 in the night, non-stop. The searching patterns in Heaven Shoal, we came back up off Nevis. We were calling passing vessels, telling them to be on the lookout. When we were on our way home, the captain of the vessel, Valmont, I think it was, one of Valmont, he said, no, we're going to hit one more search around Redondo. We went actually extremely close to Redondo with Heliconia Star, shining the light, shouting, you know, anything we saw on the shore, we brought it in close to see what it was. And to no avail, we got nothing close on Redondo or around Redondo, and then we came home. I didn't go back the second day, but another day. And then that search too also had local fishers boat and pleasure craft owners. Mr. Payne went out with a couple. Raphael White from the DMCA was with him, and you had other fishers out looking also around Redonda and in the waters, but to no avail. My thoughts are still. I'm still hoping that one day he will just appear.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's it. But yeah, on a national level, it's a coordinated effort between I like to call them the Coast Guard, but the Marine Unit of the Police Force, the DMCA, and Antigua Coast Guard, Martinique.
Yeah, and interesting enough, and when we're talking about the ocean economy, I work in conservation. I sometimes at the intersection of storytelling and fisheries, people tend to think that blue economy, ocean economy work is to do just with the ocean and fisheries, and it's not. Like, there is the whole aspect of marine pollution. There is shipping. There is data management. There is things like even the vessel monitoring devices that were on that particular boat.
Yeah.
The technology that is built to manage and to raise alarm, or to even show behaviors of the boat, like behaviors of fishing behavior and so on. So for that activity, you would have maybe had a ping that would have said that the boat was last seen in a certain area, which is very crucial in terms of the time and the direction in which you first go to search. Is that right?
Well, I think the only thing we had that day was his last cell phone location that we worked from, and ended up that day was a day. Ended up way down in Heaven Shower, following the currents and that kind of thing, as to his last location where he would have been. But again, no avail.
Right. Now, when I talk about prepare for the unexpected, fishes going missing has been too long a concern. Like, that is the number one concern when it comes to the marine conservation space, science space, fisheries management, and so on. It's safety at sea for our fishers. And I'd go further, but that's another conversation, to talk about workplace safety, because safety for them is about having the right support system. But really and truly, a boat going missing or being hit could be any boat. It could be an oil tanker. It could be a ferry. It could be a food shipment vessel. It could be a yacht, and it could be a cruise ship. It could be anything that is using the ocean at a particular time. It could be scientists just on there looking around for whales or dolphins or whatever we do, And in that case, especially when you have a massive vessel in the water, like an oil tanker, if something like that got struck, then you have not only the people aspect, you then have the environmental concern of what the impacts of an oil spill may be and how you're going to control that, especially if it happens near shore. And I'm wondering how you balance this. Like, how would you approach this? Because I've seen you guys already doing some drills around oil spills as well and pollution.
So, just to inform the nation, there are 3 tiers of oil pollution response. And proudly, Montserrat can boast that we are at level 2. The MCA, the Maritime Coast Guard Agency of the UK, has given us a lot of equipment, skimmers, booms, not all the gear, basically all the gear needed for oil pollution response. And we are basically bordering on level 2. Level 2 would be so that we can actually go to Anguilla and respond to Anguilla if they have a situation. But we have good equipment. It is expected. We've dealt with, I think, 3 cases thus far locally, and we've gotten some recognition from the UK when it comes to that. I think the guard ship was one that was quite impressed with us responding to a situation that happened at the hot mix plant. They had an incident where some substance leaked into the waterway and went to the sea. And we were on it in space of an hour, had it under control and dealt with it.
Congratulations.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so Montserrat is basically on a tier 2 response level for oil pollution. And At this juncture, I must say thanks to Mr. Ogaro, the manager of the Port Authority, who has put in a lot of work and has taken it really seriously when it comes to that. So we are on our way. We also have human capacity, so we are trained. We have level 1 responders, level 2 commander responders, and we have a few persons trained in level 3, which level 3 would more be the finance part of it. How do you spend the money to recover from an oil spill? So we're on our way, and it looks promising. We have a team of about 20, and they're all volunteers, and it's made up from the Marine Unit of the RMPS, the Royal Montserrat Defense Force, the Montserrat Fire and Rescue Services, the MCA, and of course, Delta Petroleum plays a part in our pollution team, because more than likely they would be, the persons that may cause a pollution on our shores.
Incredible. I'm absolutely amazed by what you're doing, what we see, what's even happening, on that you may not shout about necessarily, but you are a small team doing amazing things. And as you were saying those things, and I want to say as well, this is a live radio program, so if you want to call in, you can call in on 491-7227 or 491-9064, or you can WhatsApp 496-2885. But as you were saying that, I felt proud. I feel like sometimes we are looking for reasons to feel hopeful and to feel excited, and to also see what you're able to achieve with little. And I don't want to take away from that, but we are oftentimes doing amazing work, maybe because of our principles, our values, our love for the island, love for the work. So we make things happen on a shoestring budget. But it really should be mentioned that what you're doing now in other places in the world would probably have a budget that is quadruple what you currently are working with.
Most definitely.
Yes.
So you're making miracles happen for us, and that work has a knock-on effect, especially when we're talking again about the ocean economy. It's not just about the ocean and marine life and pollution and stuff like this, but it's also about how we make money in our tourism sector. Because what you're saying and highlighting to me, I'm seeing steps being put in place, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, for Montserrat to even have like a blue flag status for its beaches. Because if you can show that you can manage things like pollution, if you can show we have lifeguards on our beaches, if you show that we have good water quality and we can manage and maintain that, then there is this global recognition that our beaches get for blue flag. I think Tobago is one of the only islands in the Caribbean right now that actually has that status. And Montserrat, as small as we are, is showing its capacity to really shine as an eco-haven, as a really sustainable destination across the region. So, and you're playing a big part in that, as small as this team is. So thank you for that. And I wanted to go back a little bit to thinking about this whole safety of the ocean users. So you've spoken a little bit about the how we respond to people, how we respond to nature and our water source, because what affects our water affects our health. Let's just say that. Ocean health, and health is money, like health is wealth. So in a situation where perhaps you had a boat being hit, or a drone situation, because we have to start to think about this. We really have to start to think about this. Imagine a boat is out, you get a call that there has been a suspected strike. And I don't like to talk about things that I don't know for myself or haven't heard from people. So just this weekend, I put together a little quick survey and I sent it out to my community of people who are working on the sea in just one chat. And two fishers responded, one of them from Trinidad and one of them from a marine police officer responded, and one of them was from Trinidad, one from Nevis. In terms of the fishers, Nevis said that the fisher responding with Nevis said that he is very concerned. He is seeing strange activity in terms of aircraft. He's seeing drone activity. He it's not making as much money because we used to go to fish. He doesn't go anymore. He has to stay close to shore. This is conflicting with conservation situations because conservationists, scientists, fishery scientists will say that we have to protect our inshore fisheries, so they want the boats to go further out. This is a complete clash that is about to happen right here if we are not able to ensure that our fishers are safe when they go out. In these types of things, no, I'm wondering how you coordinate with others. I mean, have you started to think about the fact that strikes could now be another hazard in your portfolio of mounting the things that you already have on your back?
Yeah, well, it's just another added hazard. We have to start to look at it. It's a possibility. This morning I woke up, I saw a news item saying that there's a visiting U.S. battleship in St. Kitts for the next couple of days. So anything is a possibility. So we have to, anything that's of the nature of a hazard, we have to take it on board and start to, do our research and be ready for it, just in case.
And as we keep on pushing that Montserrat is a multi-hazard island, and we are prone to both technological, which is such things like what is happening at the sea, as well as natural hazards. And we have to be prepared for any type of hazard that may impact the island.
And, sometimes that becomes overwhelming even, when you really have to sit and think about how to piece it through. Sometimes I'm not even sure how you decide what is priority today and in process, because what I'm seeing is we have an environmental threat, major risk to what I like to call our birthright. This ocean to me is our birthright. Our people came across the ocean as slaves from Africa, and we lost many souls at sea. What we all have left now is the wealth of the ocean for the generations to come. And I'm seeing rising sea temperatures, corals under stress, all the various things are happening. But what I do know is that the sea and the environment is extremely resilient. You leave it alone and it will learn to bounce back. People, I'm not so sure about. We need a little bit more loving care, and we need a little bit more support, and that's where people like you come in, because as from what I'm hearing about your work is that there is this defense, security, risk management, but there's also the fact of caring for people, helping ensure that people can be in a better position to be resilient and to be protected as well. And in terms of that part of it, I just wanted to, because really I sort of address this whole safety aspect. I want us to just think a little bit about, what do you think needs to change, if anything, for people to feel safe out there right now? Is there anything that can change? Is there anything that we should be doing that we aren't doing? Is there any way we should be speaking together more, coordinating more? What do you think?
Well, for me, I think it's more coordination between the islands, one, and it's going to have to come from like that meeting that's happening from today in St. Kitts, OECS or CARICOM, one of the two. Having heads of government meeting today. So that's where it's going to have to start. Heads of governments are going to have to knock heads and come to one common understanding as to what's happening and how we're going to deal with it. For us, it becomes a little bit more, us and Anguilla and Tatola, comes a little bit more complicated as we are OTs also. So, the UK part of it also, we have to be cautious as to how we touch it. But it's twofold for us, CARICOM and the UK. So the heads of governments are going to have to butt heads and come to some kind of agreement as to what's happening and how we're going to go forward with all this.
Well, we have to watch the space and see how it goes. So coming right back around to this thing. My mom, if she's listening, she used to nickname me climate change because I'm always like and so she sees things now and she's like, Vita, that you see this is climate change, It's like,
Yes.
and so we are at this thing which is the real threat of our generation. This is a generational situation that is going on, and I want to know, when from your eyes, from what you see has changed, what you see happening now, what does climate change look like for DMCA? How would you describe that to us here? Because tell
Okay.
me.
First, I think we need to probably look at first what is climate change. And for those of you who don't know, climate change means the earth is getting warmer. The weather is changing over a long period of time. Because of climate change, we may see hotter days, stronger storms. And we talk about storms, we are talking about hurricanes, more flooding, flash flooding, or longer dry seasons. And we know we are getting into the dry season starting March. So climate change happens mainly because of pollution from cars, factories, and cutting down too many trees, which traps heat around the earth. Climate change is not creating new hazards for Montserrat, but it's making the ones we already face more intense and less predictable. What I mean is that as a small island developing state in the Caribbean, Montserrat is already exposed to hurricanes, volcanic activity, earthquakes, tsunamis, landslides, flash flooding, and coastal flooding. What climate change is doing is acting as a risk multiplier, right? So increasing the severity, in some cases, the frequency of these hazards. And we are talking about hydrometeorological hazards, which are natural hazards caused by weather, water, and climate processes. And these include events such as intense heavy rainfall that may just happen quickly, hurricanes, flooding, storm surges, droughts, and heat waves. In simple terms, these hazards that come from the atmosphere and water systems. For example, we are seeing stronger hurricanes with heavier rainfall and higher storm surges. We have seen Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica. It was last year, 2025. We have seen Hurricane Beryl in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and also Grenada, and the impact from these hurricanes. So they're getting, we're not getting more hurricanes, but they're becoming more stronger with heavier rainfall and high storm surges. There's a situation in Barbados where we have where the sea has receded a lot because of storm surges in Barbados. So these are some of the things that they're saying are a result of climate change. So if the total number of storms does not increase significantly, the intensity of storms and the volume of rainfall associated with these are increasing. That raises the risk of flash flooding across Montserrat and damage to infrastructure. So one of the things that we are also experiencing is more intense rainfall events because Montserrat is a steep terrain and volcanic soils. Heavy rainfall can quickly trigger flash flooding, lahars and landslides and rockfalls. And we're talking about in areas such as Pump Gut, Dick Hill, Cars Bay, Little Bay, Barsey, Salt Springs, Cheap End, Runaway Gut, sometime in Braids coming down by Cars Bay there. We may have, some rockfalls falling down. And in the Bellum Valley, you have lahars, and that is why the bridge was unearthed recently in the Bellum Valley area. Additionally, rising temperatures contribute to heat stress and drought conditions. We don't really suffer from drought conditions here, but we do have dry season, which can cause forest fire, right? And that can affect agriculture and public health because you may have mosquito-borne diseases and stuff like that there, right? So overall, climate change is increasing the severity of the hazards we already face and creating more complex and cascading impacts such as landslides and flash floods and lahars. And this is why preparedness, early warning system, we already have an early warning system in place, which is the sirens, and strong community awareness about these type of hazards remain essential for us at the Disaster Management Coordination Agency.
Thank you for sharing that and for your very in-depth explanation as well. I'm sure people appreciated that. And all I keep thinking, I'm sure I saw on Facebook a flash come up saying that the FCDO budget meetings are happening, and I'm just hoping and praying that you all will start to see more budget increases as well, because we are clearly dealing with a significant increase of potential threats to land, sea, and people. And these are, some of these are new and additional to what you would have been taking on before. And so I'm wondering what how you're really prioritizing and the multi-hazard situation that we have. I've seen photos of you, Astrid. You do a great job in raising awareness about the potential tsunami. I just thank God that I'm on a 100-foot cliff area, but down a little bit where my little clubhouse is.
Yep.
Just right now, the biggest storm threats I feel are even sea surges, because some of these sea surges, burial, the storm surge came up in Barbados over 20-25 feet or something crazy like that.
Yes,
So please bear with me down there in my little building, because I'm trying to make a little bit of cash, little money moves before it get washed away, because these things are real threats, and I'm also seeing the tsunami. I didn't think that Montserrat. Why do you think Montserrat would have a tsunami threat? Is this a real concern?
Of course it
Yes,
is. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be local. A tsunami can happen in across the Atlantic, hours after the wave passes through the islands.
I don't know. We don't know. You gotta tell us, because I'm thinking it have to happen here. Maybe it's a volcanic eruption that's gonna cause that.
No, tsunamis can happen three ways. They could be locally. For example, we could have a landslide that can on Montserrat that can trigger a tsunami. We can have a distant tsunami, which comes from like Kikamjeni volcano, which is submarine volcano next to Grenada, and that could erupt and it can trigger a tsunami in Montserrat. And we could also have volcano-induced tsunamis. So there are three ways that we can have tsunamis. So for Montserrat, the most vulnerable areas to tsunamis would be like Ice Bay Beach, Casby Beach. The beaches on the western coastlines are basically vulnerable to tsunamis from distant sources, from landslides, and also from volcano induced. For example, I think it was in 1997 we had tsunamis from the Suffolk Hills volcano, but they were very small, and it was in the Old Roads Bay area, and I think also in Trans, so one of those areas on the eastern side of the island. So we have been impacted by tsunamis in the past.
Wow. And I'm thinking, when I see these signs going up and I see them, I take my son around to the gym, and I see a sign saying this is a meeting point. So it's in my head that you got to come up to the basketball court. But then I'm thinking, because I used to move a lot around the Marine Village. We all move a lot around the Marine Village. And I'm going to put you on this spot here. Just imagine we down there one day and you see this recede on a Friday afternoon and all kind of cars down here. What a situation are we going to face? Are people going to run up to the thing or drive up?
I did a lot of work on Little Way area. And sad to say, vandalism has showed its sticky head. So a lot of the signs have been vandalized. The main rendezvous point would have been on top where they have Leprechaun Revenge. That's one of the main rendezvous points for the port and those people. We had directional signs coming up, everything, and people broke them off.
That's not like us.
Yeah. I don't want to pinpoint anybody, but I brought it to the attention of one ministry that I knew. They were doing some work in the area, and they destroyed at least 2 of the signs, and up to this date, they haven't replaced them. Another thing that had happened is that somebody was having something at the museum and used one of the signs as a billboard, covered the information on the sign and actually had it. And I was with a visiting person from the FCDO that saw that, and they were quite disappointed in seeing something like that happening. But it's a work in progress. And one thing I will say with the tsunami situation, we have done inundation mapping. So we do have that information. We will have it collated on a map later this year. We're also working on our vulnerability mapping and our hazard mapping.
Okay. And just to add as well that last week we erected tsunami signs in Casby, just below Romeo's there. We erected DMCA erected a tsunami sign in the Causeway area and also at Margarita Bay. And we are planning to put signs on all the western beaches. So we're going to put at Woodlands, Limekiln, Old Roads Bay, Baton Bay, Foxes Bay.
Yeah, basically from Rendezvous to Plymouth.
From Rendezvous to Plymouth. And basically the whole idea is so that Montserrat is tsunami ready. So there's this UNESCO-led initiative that is going throughout the Caribbean islands to ensure that all the islands are tsunami ready. And part of it is putting signs, warning signs and other information on the beaches so that to raise awareness of tsunami and so that people can make informed decisions in the event that they hear a sound at the beach, you see the sea receding, and you feel the ground shaking, that you head to higher ground. And we are speaking specifically about beaches on the western coastlines of Montserrat.
Like you said, with Trinidad, with Tobago, I think Anguilla is the only island among us that is basically tsunami ready. Well, they have to be actually.
They're so flat.
Yeah, but I think they're the only ones that has met the UNESCO requirement. What happens is that they can come in and do it beach by beach. So if I have the Little Bay area ready, they'll come in and certify it. And I wanted to do Little Bay first because that was where our tourists come in, where everybody congregates. So I wanted to do. Had it about 90% ready. Then vandalism took over, and so I have to start all over again, with especially the evacuation route signs and the rendezvous point signs.
Okay, and another critical point I want to bring across here as well. So we speak about in terms of raising awareness in the community about different hazards, whether it's natural or man-made or technological hazards. So we have been going into the schools and we have actually done tsunami drills for where we take students down to Foxes Bay and we do a tsunami scenario and we have them run up the hill as though there's an actual tsunami taking place. So we are doing that in the schools as well. So we are teaching them that if you're at the beach and you see the sea receding, you hear a loud sound, you feel the earth shaking, you ought to head to higher ground. So we have been doing that in the schools as well as earthquake drills as well. So the whole thing is about having the children at the beach. So we have to, mobilize transportation, have them on the beach, do the scenario, come up the hill with them to explain to them what, if they are, for example, they might be at the school on a field trip at the beach, what do you do if you observe something? So we are working along with our children who in turn will pass on the message to the parents, and so they might be at the beach with their parents, so the parents also would know what to do as well.
Thank you. I mean, nobody could argue that you are not doing your work. I think I'm so happy to hear you sharing so much. Because you are doing a lot right now. I'm hoping that your department, I know you often get to do sort of knowledge exchange and training development work globally, regionally, and so on. I would love to see that when we have these climate change conferences and talks about best practices, about access to finance and collaboration, you make us proud. I think that it would be really good for us to see that some of the small islands, because maybe we're so small, we're able to pilot and achieve success in areas that would be much more difficult for some of the bigger islands to do. And what can they learn from that? I think that's very valuable information that could be shared as well. So on that note, I'm going to take a break and before we get into our Money Move section. So over to JJP for a moment.
We must all be prudent and be all good students. You better listen what Vita say, or we won't be around one day. I hate it when I'm right. I wish I was wrong. If we don't learn lessons of the past, we won't be here long. Cause while we out there just littering, partying, and just having a ball, when the oceans will rise, mankind will surely fall. hate it, hate it, hate it when I'm right. I wish I was wrong. One more time, I hate it, hate it, hate it when I'm right. I wish I was wrong. But I firmly believe in karma, so my predictions does come to pass. I can't see into the future, but I can see into the past.
So thank you so much. And if you're still with us, thank you so much for joining us. I have been really thoroughly enjoying listening to Astrid and Shirley-Ann speak about their roles in terms of the impacts of climate change on Montserrat, all the activities and roles that they have in really managing these multi-hazard risks that we now face. And I really took away that phrase that Shirley-Ann used about climate change being that risk amplifier. But we're going to go into our money moves section now, which is, where I like to sort of give people some tangible sort of information on how they can actually create new opportunities, new skills, development for themselves, and hopefully move some money for our economy as well. And so I wanted to ask you, are there any sort of jobs, trainings, learnings that come up in the field that you are in that you even want to pursue, or that you think that people in the community may be interested in connecting to? And if those are opportunities that are found somewhere on your website, you have a pretty detailed and up-to-date website. But yeah, I'm wondering about skills development opportunities, because when we talk about ocean opportunities, when we talk about climate opportunities, when we talk about risk management, these are all money opportunities as well. These are our job creators. So tell me, are there any sort of things out there right now that you're excited about in terms of your training and development, or that you think other people in the community who are interested in doing your type of work would be interested in as well?
One of the things that we're looking at DMCA is volunteers. We have an issue we get in. For example, if we're in the hurricane season and we have to activate the National Emergency Operations Center, and we have to activate emergency shelters as well. We don't have enough volunteers or even district shelter managers. That's what they are, Astrid. So one of the things we're always looking for is volunteers at the DMCA to help, to assist us in the event that Montserrat should be impacted by hazard.
Well, I was going to touch the volunteerism, but
Yeah.
I think that I won't say it's dead, but it's gone out the door. People will come and say that they are volunteering, and at the end of the whole process, you get a bill for their work. So where do we make them sign contracts? But you're volunteering. So, where's the common ground in this? We have been heavily reliant upon the Defense Force for shelter management and that kind of thing. So volunteer, I think the Red Cross also was telling me that they're having the same issue when it comes to volunteerism. People want something tangible. So it's not volunteerism anymore. They're looking for something tangible at the end of giving their time. People do the training. You put out a shelter manager's training. People do come and do the training. And at the end of the day, they'll tell you, when you're ready for them, they'll say, I can't make it, or I'm afraid of COVID, or different reasons.
Yeah.
So we always have to have a backup plan in place. And our backup plan thus far is the Defense Force, which works for us, but is not the ideal thing, depending on how we are impacted. Okay, so we are asking again for volunteers. There's also, I think Sidima had a youth program, where Darren Tia attended. Sholan can speak to that. That's one area to that. I think they had a youth.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
Sholan can.
for example, CRIF, that is the Caribbean Risk, they normally have like internship and CDMA as well. So what I would do, I would, target a youth within the community who is doing work in terms of the environment, whatever it is, and I would reach out to CDMA for them to get an attachment. And so Darrentia Sweeney, she's now doing her master's. She benefited from that as well. But just to diverse a little bit, one of the roles of the DMCA is the management of the exclusion zone, which is primarily Plymouth and St. George's Hill. Now, one of the things that we are looking for is access wardens, and actually can speak more towards that in terms of, he speak towards the role of the access wardens. So one of the things we are looking at is access wardens for Zone V. And now with the reopening of St. George's Hill, we need additional access wardens. So that's something, opportunities at the DMCA that persons can even be interested in. So, Mr. Wade, you can speak more to the role of the access wardens.
Well, the role of the access warden is giving access to Plymouth, St. George's Hill, doing recce's, reporting, taking information. So they're expected to do a lot of writing, and they're expected to report any abnormal stuff that they see or anything that they observe in the zone. Also, they are there as the eyes and ears of the director of the DMCA, so they have a level of responsibility and authority when they are there as the wardens. That's basically it in a nutshell.
And they
let
are
me
paid.
clarify,
And
they're
they are paid. Yes, they are paid.
They're paid according to
$120 for the morning shift. So they can make up to $240 during the week, and $150 for the morning shift on the weekend, and $150 EC for the afternoon shift. So they can make up to $300. But there are down times when we don't have any tours entering. Any tours going to Plymouth and St. George's Hill. But during times like these, during our
St. Patrick's,
our tourism season and St. Patrick's and our festival season, we may have a lot of people going to the exclusion zone, and you can make a lot of money. So we are looking for access wardens for Zone V. So if anyone out there interested in being an access warden, contact us at the DMCA and we'll go from there. So that's another
Fantastic.
Money moves.
Money moves.
Money moves.
With the DMCA.
and let me
DMCA.
also add the oil pollution team. If there's any civilian that is interested, because I know I mentioned the uniform bodies, but if there are any civilians that are interested, I think one or two persons told me that they're interested in joining the oil pollution team. So when we have our next training, I would really involve those two persons. But if there's anybody else that wants to join, you can come right ahead and join it also.
Well, it's a good time to shout out the Fish and Feeds team, which is my non-profit, and right now they're running a 3-month program which is all about becoming scientists. So they're collecting data, they're choosing their research topics. I know at least two of them yesterday would choose seabirds. One that was on lobsters, marine pollution is one, and they're teens. And big up to the Montserrat Port Authority, who helped to make this possible. Mr. Agaro and his board, Rosetta West and the Montserrat Tourism Authority, and the Community Environmental Stewardship Initiative, as well as the Ministry of Health and Education, who are our funding partners for this Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Mathematics Ocean Science Club. So that's a big deal. And what I am sensing is that we have at least 10 young people, 5 of them probably out right now, working on the sciences around our land and ocean space and that intersection. And they're looking for roles and opportunities. Going back to your volunteer thing, but volunteer, pitch, for want of a better word, is that if young people are listening who are in college or just come out of college, and especially if you're interested in marine science work, ocean pollution and being able to get this type of experience on the oil pollution is a major plus on your resume. And take it from me that I didn't come across this work in the traditional means. I didn't go to my PhD and master's, and so I was in the trenches. That's where I earned my stripes. But experience matters a whole lot, and it's not easy to get this type of experience, even regionally. You've just explained where you are in the region in terms of responsiveness. We can actually support another island, and people want to know about this. Sometimes we have spills. People have to, you merge this with marine ecology, and you're on a winning ticket. So when we have opportunities like this to volunteer in the community, don't underplay it. The money is going to come and take opportunities when we get them. So thank you for sharing that. And also, back to the whole skills and education sides of it. I'm wanting to, my last question to you really is, for young people who want to do what you do, that next generation who wants to be mentored, wants a job like this, what skills and qualifications do you think are necessary? What did you have that you think they need? Talk to us about that in terms of personal development, professional development for people who are interested in getting into this field. Because you need more hands on deck.
What I would say with the professional development is that there's a lot of rough camping, I call it. You have to make up your mind that you can be out for a week without seeing your home. You can be sent to a workshop that you sleep in tents. You may have to travel to a workshop on a C-130 aircraft. Sometimes it gets a bit rough, but it's all to make you understand, working in a disaster, when you're impacted, there's no comfort zone for especially responders.
Yeah.
We're there to make sure that the residents are comforted and are comfortable. But for us, sometimes we get our meals, we get whatever, but we have to put in the midnight oil, as they call it. And we get that complaint all the time where young people say, not me, I can't walk during no hurricane.
No long hours.
I can't miss my bed. What if electricity goes? These are the questions these are the
no
the
internet,
concerns.
no Wi-Fi.
These are the concerns that they have.
Yes.
They do have these concerns. And you try to sit with them and encourage them. It's a lovely field to work in. I enjoy doing what I do. But at times, it's getting other people to love it. It's just going to have to be in them. It's going to have to be something that you love. Me coming from my emergency management to disaster management setting, I made the transition quite easily. So, it's easy. I'm accustomed to sleeping on cots, the roughing. But a lot of people nowadays, a lot of children nowadays, teenagers, they'll tell you straight up, I'm not leaving my comfortable bed to go sleep on a cot.
Yeah.
And these are just the little things that we have to
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
and from my point of view, so I started out in media, working at Surgery Radio. So as the information and education officer at disaster management, you must have training in terms of media. But what I've done over the years is I have done a lot of courses in terms of in disaster management. So I've done the CDMA leadership course in terms of disaster management. I went on and did a postgraduate certificate in emergency communication. I've just completed a postgraduate diploma in disaster management. And I also do a lot of drills and exercises so that at least I am equipped to basically carry out my functions at the disaster management. So over the past few years, I've done a lot of training in terms of and transitioning from media where I'm chasing the news now where I have to promote disaster prevention. So I love it. I enjoy it. It's about helping people to make informed decisions in terms of their risk and to keep people safe. So I really do enjoy the job, and that is why I've moved further and went along and do more training in terms of disaster management. So it is not an easy role. Yes, I mean, I don't want to be going on a boat. That's one of my concerns. Yes, being in the EOC for overnight, it's not easy, and then you have to go home the next morning. Yes, so sometimes we have partial activation of the EOC. Sometimes we have full activation of the Emergency Operations Center. So you have to really, really, really love it and like it, you know? And I do enjoy my job at the disaster management. It's meaningful.
Thank you so much for all you do. We appreciate you on behalf of Montserrat and Montserratians at home and abroad. And until next time, next week on the Blue Zone, we're having conversations and storytelling around our blue economy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.